health consultant, Sapna. I'm sure all of you are excited and waiting for this session. And definitely, before we start, I would really like to say that this is actually one of the ideas from one of my dear friends, ABO from the ABO fraternity. Thank you so much. If you all think about anything else you feel that we can bring for you and help you, definitely get in touch either with me or Joel. We'll be more than happy to plan the session and make sure that you guys can benefit out of it. So, talking about PCOS, yes, it's very, very alarming. I'm sure all of you would have read the statistics. One out of five Indian women are dealing with PCOS. And yes, PCOS is something that can never be completely cured, but yes, you can keep maintaining it and sustaining it. And definitely, I'm not the right person right now to start and explain everything. We have the right, exactly the right person here who's going to start and take you all through what is PCOS. So, I request Sapna to, take on the virtual stage and start with your magic. Over to you, Sapna.
Thank you so much, Jasleen. I'm really excited to do this session today because it's completely an untouched topic, but actually a very, very important topic to have discussion on. And so, first of all, good evening to all of you who are present here for the session. So, as Jasleen also told, today we are going to discuss. Am I audible? Am I clear, Jasleen? Just wanted to make sure.
Yes, you are perfectly audible. Yes.
Okay. So today we are going to discuss a very, very important topic which affects a large group of women. Okay, and the problem is it affects at every phase a woman undergoes. Right? It affects your adolescence, it affects your fertile age, it affects your menopausal age also. Okay, so what is exactly PCOS? So PCOS, when we explain it, PCOS means polycystic ovarian syndrome. That means poly means many, cystic means bubble kind of structure, ovarian means in the ovary. Ovary is a part of a reproductive system, okay, of a female, and syndrome because it is a set of symptoms which is present in women of PCOS. Okay, so basically polycystic ovarian syndrome. Now, PCOS is the most common disorder, okay, which is found in females, especially the age of fertile age. Okay, what is the fertile age? When the periods are starting like around 16, 15 to around 45. So this is the age where a woman is mostly affected by this PCOS. Okay, PCOS, what is PCOS? PCOS is basically a hormonal disorder which creates an imbalance between the male hormones and the female hormones. Now, what is male hormone? Male hormone is testosterone and female hormones are estrogen and progesterone. So, if you see male and female body, both are having both the hormones. Both are having both the sex hormones, like, but in males largely it is present testosterone, and females it is largely present in the form of estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so what happens because of internal as well as external factors, there is an imbalance between male and female hormones where it leads to high level of testosterone leading to lower level of estrogen and progesterone. Okay, and because of this it affects mainly your ovulation process, and then it leads to different complaints like irregular periods, acne, and those kind of things. Okay, so if you see PCOS in medical science also, PCOS doesn't have a definite cause. There are all triggering factors, but there is no etiology, there is no definite cause lying behind PCOS. Okay, it's unknown. But if you see, it affects 15 to 20% women of reproductive age, like worldwide, and now the incidences are happening more also because of so many factors affecting the women health, like all the external factors, your stress levels, your eating patterns, your lifestyle changes. That's why the occurrence is more and more in the present times. Okay, So it is affecting largely the women, but unfortunately there is no certain way of diagnosis. You cannot say that okay, you just do this blood test and you will know whether you have a PCOS or not. So there is a series need to do, and there is unfortunately there is no clear line of treatment as well for PCOS. Either you need to switch to hormonal therapy, hormonal tablets and all, but that also doesn't give you actually a solution, right? And all the fraternity, medical and non-medical fraternity, has agreed to one point definitely, that diet, lifestyle changes play a major role to keep it under control, to keep all the symptoms under control and improvise the quality of life. So basically, in overall, if we say, it is a endocrine disorder rather than a more of a gynecological disorder. It's mainly hormone related. It disturbs your hormones, your testosterone, your estrogen, your progesterone, your insulin, right? That way, which we'll discuss further. So we'll go to the next slide now. So in the next slide, there are certain facts that are represented. So facts, the first fact is, firstly, it was found in 1935 by Irving Steen and Michael Leventhal. And how they identified the disease? They came up with a combination of three symptoms. It is called as triad of three symptoms. Amenorrhea. Amenorrhea is absence of periods. Second is obesity, and third is your hirsutism. So when it was found in 1935, then it was commonly came into the combination of these three symptoms. Also, out of 10 PCOS women, half of the women are always towards the obese side. So this is also one of the alarming factors. Because once you're going to the obesity with all the hormonal imbalance, it actually invites so many risk factors coming again. Okay. So as I said earlier, there is no definitive criteria, but there is a Rotterdam criteria. There is a criteria called a Rotterdam criteria, where it says that if you have 2 out of 3 symptoms, those 3 symptoms I'll tell you, if you have 2 out of 3 symptoms, we can consider that the female is having PCOS. And what are those 3 symptoms? Irregularity in periods, increased level of testosterone, and presence of cyst in the ovaries. Okay, so these are the 3 symptoms. Out of these 3 symptoms, if any 2 symptoms are present, then we can consider that yes, it is PCOS. Okay. So now we'll try to understand that what goes wrong, what leads to this PCOS, and what leads to all these symptoms. Okay. Now, as I clearly told earlier also, that we don't know the exact cause. There are certain triggering factors which further lead to hormonal imbalance, and then it further leads to all the symptoms that we see in PCOS. So if you see, there's a small flow chart on your on the slide. So genetics and lifestyle. So internal factor is your genetics, and external factors is your stress, your lifestyle, your pills, your eating habits, all those. So imagine, like a PCOS mother must have definitely transferred a gene to the girl child. Okay. So when this happens because of the genetics, that particular girl child is always at a higher risk that her testosterone level will be on the higher side. So that is about your internal factors, and that's why it is showing through genetics hyperandrogenism. Hyperandrogenism, that means increased level of testosterone. Okay. On the other side, if you see, it is lifestyle. Lifestyle includes all your stress, your eating habits, your obesity, right? All those things. And because of all these problems, what it does, it mainly affects your insulin hormone. Because if you're not eating right, if your lifestyle is not right, you're not sleeping on time, right? You're taking a lot of stress, right? All these affects your insulin hormone. Okay. So insulin hormone, what happens? After a certain time, after a certain period of time, when you are not changing your diet, lifestyle and everything, your body starts what to say, stops identifying the insulin. Okay, so the cell doesn't allow the insulin. Okay, and that's why the level of insulin is higher in the blood. Okay, so these are the two ways which is affecting two of your hormones, your testosterone and your insulin. That means the cell starts showing insulin resistance. It resists the insulin. Okay, and the level of insulin goes higher in the blood. Now what happens? Because of the high testosterone level and because of the insulin resistance, when the insulin level is high in the blood, it stimulates the ovary to secrete more testosterone. Okay, and then the adding factor combines and leads to the further symptoms. If you see, because of the high level of testosterone, what happens? Hirsutism. Hirsutism is your facial hairs, presence of facial hairs. Okay, second is your acne, right? And because of combined factor of testosterone and insulin level, what happens? It affects your ovulation. Okay, because testosterone level is high, estrogen and progesterone level is going on the lesser side, which affects your ovulation. Okay, and that's why it results into the ovulatory symptoms, like the ovulation process will be disturbed, there will be menstrual irregularity, there will be fertility related issues. Okay, so this is a combined effect of insulin resistance and high level of testosterone, and the remaining, because of only insulin resistance, then you are at a high risk of getting all your heart problems, your diabetes, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, all kinds of cancers, all those things. So this is about a kind of flow chart that what goes wrong, where the hormones are getting affected, and how these hormones are actually responsible to show the symptoms and give you the disease they are responsible for. Okay, so this was just a basic flow chart to understand. Now in the second slide you will be able to understand that because of this ovulation process, when it stops, what happens. So on your right hand side you will be able to see that there is a picture where it is showing the regular ovulation process. Okay, so in regular ovulation process, what happens? The egg is formed, it is released, and it is taken by the fallopian tubes, and then it goes further. But in the second picture, you will be able to see that the egg is forming, but it is not getting released. And why it is not getting released? Because of the presence of high testosterone level. Okay, because of the high testosterone level, what happens? The body doesn't go through the ovulation process and the eggs are not properly released. And when these eggs are not released, they stay back in the ovary itself and swells up and make a cyst. And these cysts only starts accumulating over the ovary, and that's why it is known as polycystic ovarian syndrome. Okay, so I hope it's clear, like we have seen the flow chart that how the hormones are affecting the symptoms, and now we are clear that how this cyst is formed. Alright, so it is said that if more than, so generally when a regular ovulation also happens, it happens that out of 12 cycles, maybe 1 or 2 cycles may go without ovulation also. So that is a regular part. But when you're doing a ultrasound of a PCOS person, if more than 12 cysts are present, then only it is considered to be as a PCOS. So that is one of the diagnostic criteria that can be done to understand that yes, this person is having PCOS. Okay. Now we'll move on to the next slide, which tells that what are the factors that is affecting PCOS. So now you can see that how hormonal imbalance we understood. Stress levels are again the triggering factors, which is again 10.5%. Lifestyle changes, so you can see it's quite on the higher side. Insulin resistance, that is most, the hormonal imbalance and insulin resistance are affecting the PCOS condition the most. Okay, so whenever we are taking care of the PCOS client or a person, we have to take care of the insulin resistance and the hormonal imbalance, which is the cause lying behind. Alright, So this was all about the factors causing PCOS. Now we will come to the types of PCOS. Okay. So as per the factors also, it can be divided to 4 types, like your insulin resistant PCOS, your inflammatory PCOS, your pill induced PCOS, and the hidden cause behind PCOS. So these are the 4 cause based PCOS, but this is the main types of PCOS which is dependent on the Rotterdam criteria which I explained prior, okay, before. So if you see types of PCOS, it has been divided to 4 types, and it is divided that the type is having all the 3 symptoms present. Okay, so what were those 3 symptoms? Irregularity in the periods, your presence of increased testosterone hormones, and third was presence of cyst. So if you see the first type, it is having all the 3 symptoms. Okay. The type B, it is having irregularity in periods, high testosterone, but no cyst on ovaries. Okay. That's why this PCOS becomes very complicated, because every individual has a different set of symptoms, a different set of causes, and that's why it has to be countered on a very individual level, on a very customized level. Type C, if you see, it's having high testosterone levels, it has polycystic ovaries, that means cysts are present on the ovaries, but the cycles are normal. Okay, but the cycles are normal. And type D, it's having cyst in the ovaries, it is having irregularity in the periods, but it doesn't have any high testosterone level. It doesn't show any high testosterone level. So now you are able to understand that this types of PCOS is actually defined by having any 2 of the 3 symptoms. That way it has been divided into types of PCOS. Now we'll talk about symptoms. What are the symptoms of PCOS? You must have encountered so many females around you who are having or who are facing all these problems, right? Maybe a group of 2 symptoms, maybe 4 symptoms, maybe all of the other symptoms also, right? So major symptoms are, you will be able to see a male pattern baldness also, right? You will be seeing a lot of hair thinning. You will see hirsutism. What is hirsutism again? It is the presence of facial hairs. Okay, they'll be facing a lot of pelvic pain because of the presence of cyst, because of the low level of estrogen. Right? Estrogen is basically a calming hormone for your body. Okay, so because that estrogen level goes down, you face a lot of pelvic pain. Infertility. So the chances of are very high that a PCOS woman at her reproductive age may face infertility issues also. Okay. Overweight. As I told earlier also, out of 10, 50% of the women are most of the time towards the overweight side. Irregular periods, definitely it is one of the major symptoms that is present in PCOS. Fatigue. You feel a lot of tiredness and you feel a lot of mood disorders, mood swings also. Okay. Fatigue, why? Because your insulin level is high, but the energy is not reaching to cells, because cells are resisting that energy. The cells are resisting that insulin. The cells are resisting that sugar. Okay. So that's why you feel fatigue all the time. Sometimes it happens that you feel a lot of cravings also. High testosterone level, definitely one of the major symptoms that is present, and you will see a lot of acne also. Apart from all these symptoms, you will see a lot of dark pigmentation patches around the female, around the neck, arms, and the thigh region. You must have seen PCOS female must be having a lot of dark patches around the neck area especially. So these are basically the major symptoms that you will be able to see, and once you are identifying, you can ask questions that, okay, are your periods regular, or all these symptoms are there. So then you can diagnose, you can tell also that yes, the chances are high that this person is definitely having PCOS, and the person will be having some additional diagnostic thing also along with her. Okay. Now these PCOS symptoms we have also divided as per the phase to understand it better, so that whenever you are coming around to a girl of certain phase, you know that what can be the major problem in that particular age. So if you see your screen, you are able to see there are 4 phases: your puberty phase, pre-puberty, puberty phase, your adolescent phase, your reproduction phase, and your premenopausal phase. So pre-puberty phase or puberty phase, you will be able to see that the female is facing a lot of weight gain. Acne is major feature in the pubertal phase, okay, because anyway they are undergoing a lot of hormonal changes, and then because of this high testosterone level and all, it increases also, okay, high blood sugar level, and your presence of more hair growth in your private areas. Secondly, adolescent phase. So this is a phase where the female will be complaining a lot of irregularity in the periods. Okay. You must have seen young girls, 15, 16, 17, they'll be complaining that I have a lot of pelvic pain, unbearable pain, my periods are regular, I get only once in 3 months, right? So in adolescent phase, there will be more of irregularity in the periods, they'll be facing a lot of obesity issues, and they will start seeing facial hairs also. They'll start seeing facial hairs also, okay, and this is a phase where a female is very protective about her looks also, right? So that's why it becomes important to counsel them at this age only that they should be start doing changes in their diet and lifestyle so that they can lead a healthy and quality life as well, okay. Now the third phase is your reproduction phase, where a female will be facing challenges related to infertility. When the female is going for ultrasound, she'll be able to see cysts on the ovary. She may face a gestational diabetes, which may carry forward also, and they may face miscarriages also because of all these hormonal imbalance. And the last phase comes the premenopause, where you are 40 plus, and because of all these hormonal changes, if you have not done any correction in diet and lifestyle, it may lead to all the metabolic disorders like your diabetes, BP, obesity, heart disease, and especially endometrial cancer. The woman with PCOS who is 40 plus is at a very high risk of endometrial cancer, okay. So that should be taken care, okay. So that's why these changes in diet and lifestyle should be started at a very early age only, and that all should become a part of their day-to-day routine, right? Now come, hello?
Yeah, just one question. I got a really good question on the chat, so I thought I'll ask you. So here when we see how PCOS messes with our life, is it that in pre-puberty, will they have all the 4 symptoms, or maybe could be only 2 or 3? What is that?
Any 1 or 2. Like maybe they may see that a weight gain is there and the acne problem is there. It's not that all the 4 symptoms will be present. Okay, it can happen that maybe acne is happening a lot and maybe weight gain is there. Or maybe they'll see that sudden pubic hair growth is happening with acne. So maybe the blood sugar level will not get affected much, the weight gain will not happen because that is the age where the children are very active, right? So it may 1 or 2 symptoms only, right?
Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll come to the next part, which is your nutritional tips, because as we discussed earlier, that change in diet and lifestyle actually plays a very major role in taking care of all the symptoms of PCOS, because it cannot be treated. That's the only line. It cannot be treated. It is present in your day-to-day life every day. Every day it will be there. The more you are taking care of your diet and lifestyle changes, the more you are able to control all these symptoms, and you can keep it at bay and lead a more quality life, okay. Now basic tips we all know, because it leads to obesity also. So the same kind of nutrition tips only, that first you have to avoid the junk food. Very important, because we cannot, you must be able to understand that carbohydrate is the major culprit, because as soon as the carbohydrate goes into your body, it triggers the insulin, right? And insulin is already there in high quantity in your blood, right? So that's why you have to take care of the carbohydrate going in your body, and that's why it's very important that you avoid especially the junk, the sugary drinks, the processed food, and in spite of that, go for a low glycemic index food. Low glycemic index, that means all your oats, your millets, your whole wheat grains, right? Those kind of things, which releases the sugar very slowly into the blood. So try to go for that, because we cannot risk to trigger more insulin secretion, because that will further it will be a complete disaster only. Okay. Secondly, don't skip breakfast. So usually also we tell that breakfast is a very important meal, but for PCOS definitely it is very important, because firstly it will help you not to be hangry. Hangry, that means hungry plus angry. Why? Because your hormonal changes affects your mood, and if you have missed out on your breakfast, then definitely you will be in this mood throughout the day. And secondly, very important, research says that women with PCOS, very important point to be noted, if they have half of their calories at breakfast, it actually helps in reducing the insulin level by 8% and reducing the testosterone level by 50%, and the chances of ovulation increases to 30%. So can you imagine, just by not skipping breakfast, you can actually play a major role in the change of these hormones. And it has to be done for 90 days. So it was a test done on the PCOS females only. And that way it showed the results on the different hormones. Okay. Third, be active. There's no other way that you can take care of your insulin sensitivity, you can take care of your weight, you can take care of your metabolism, you can reduce your inflammation, right? So there is no other way rather than being active. So apart from your diet, you have to be active also. Just 30 to 40 minutes every day, 5 days in a week, 6 days in a week, try to do it, and you will be able to see significant changes, not only in your weight but also in your hormonal levels, also to improve on your insulin sensitivity, right? Fourth, very important point, intake of protein and good fats, right? So intake of protein and good fats we generally encourage for weight loss also, but most importantly in PCOS, why should we encourage? Because compared to carbohydrates, proteins and fats doesn't trigger the insulin surge, right? So as soon as the carbohydrate goes in our body, it suddenly increases the insulin, but protein and fat doesn't affect that much surge in insulin, and that's why it becomes important to make an integral part of having a good amount of protein and good fats. Okay. Also, intake of protein, it suppresses your hunger, and your fats, good fats, are basically, without fats hormones cannot be made, and that's why you must have seen the people who are going for a fat less diets and all, they see that their periods are getting missed, because it creates a hormonal imbalance. That's why it becomes important, intake of protein and good fats, because fats makes the base of your hormone. Okay. Fifth point, your high fiber and antioxidant rich food. So PCOS is also known to be a chronic inflammatory condition. It's a low grade chronic inflammatory condition, and whenever there is an inflammation in your body, it's always important that you enrich your food by having antioxidant rich food. Okay, so it will counter the inflammation, it will help you to reduce the inflammation. Okay, once the inflammation is getting reduced, then definitely it is going to affect all your symptoms as well. Secondly, high fiber, why? Again, it helps you with the insulin sensitivity, it helps you to balance out the insulin levels, it helps you with the good weight maintenance, right? So all these things, and that's why high fiber and antioxidant food, antioxidant rich foods is very important part. And definitely keep a check on your weight. Very important, as I told, that 50% of the women with PCOS definitely are towards the obese side. So keep a check on your weight, because it will help you to maintain the hormonal levels, and it is seen that if you are able to reduce 5 to 10% of your weight, 5 to 10% of your weight, it will actually help you with your fertility issue. It will actually help you with your infertility issue. Okay, so whenever a female of reproductive age is having PCOS, then you should be encouraging her to lose some weight as well to increase the chances of conceiving. Okay. So there is no difference between PCOD and PCOS. Mainly it is known as PCOS because being a disease, if we say it as a disease, there is no treatment, there is no diagnosis. So that's why it is known as a group of symptoms. And that's why it's mainly known as PCOS rather than a PCOD. It's the same thing only. Okay. There was a question, so I just answered it.
Yeah, there are actually 2-3 more questions on this page. So I think I'll take it now. The first question is, repeat the percentage, no, what you said for the calorie and the breakfast.
So if you're having half of the calories, like throughout the day, if you're having like maybe 1200 calories and you're taking almost 500 calories in the breakfast, right? So it will help you to reduce the insulin level by 8%, reduce the testosterone level by 50%, and chances of ovulation increases to 30%. Okay, and these are all positive things for the PCOS condition. All right.
There's one more question. So generally pelvic pain generally occurs, right, if they have PCOS. So if one is having pelvic pain, so should they stop or reduce the intake of spicy foods, because we know that it leads to pelvic pain?
See, spicy food doesn't completely affect your pelvic pain. So spicy food is not a direct trigger for your pelvic pain. Pelvic pain is happening because your estrogen level is dropping down, and that's why the contraction and relaxation of the uterine muscles during the periods is not happening properly. So that is the main reason. Okay, but yes, that time you can keep your food a bit on the lesser spicy side, because the digestion will be much more better, because your body is already undergoing a painful phase. So it's better you can keep your food simple with lesser spices, but definitely spices doesn't have a direct impact on the pelvic pain.
Okay.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the next slide. Jasleen has put a lot of efforts in this slide especially. She has created a PCOS plate, and there are on the other side there are few ingredients which are fewer anti-inflammatory, fewer antioxidant rich. One is like low GI, so brown rice is low GI, raw nuts are good in vitamins and minerals, sprouts again is good source of fiber as well as antioxidant, broccoli again good source of fiber and antioxidant, garlic and onion, these are anti-inflammatory, and wheatgrass again is your antioxidant rich. So you can include all these foods, especially when you are planning a diet for a PCOS person. Okay. And the next is your PCOS plate, which is very, very important to understand. You, as I told, that you have to fill half of your plate with all the vegetables, salad, those kind of things. That means your antioxidant and fiber rich food. 1/4 portion only should be your carbohydrate, and the other 1/4 portion should be your protein. That means protein you have to slightly increase. That means you have to increase it to almost 30% of your total calorie intake. So that is the right way to choose your design your plate, especially for the women who are facing this PCOS problem. Okay. So then I think Jasleen has come up with a very nice smoothie, PCOS friendly smoothie. So if you want, you can click a picture. It can be a good breakfast with maybe 2 egg whites, or it can be a quick smoothie as an evening snack, anything like that. Okay, so you are able to see it's a good amount of protein, fat, fiber, fruits, vegetables, liquids. So as I told, that all the nutritional tips are included in this one smoothie. So now we'll move on to the main.
One second. Yeah. There's one question. So Sheetal is asking that for very young girls, like 10 or 12 years, so that they avoid getting something like this in future, what steps can we do, at as early as 10 or 12 years of age?
So for this kind of age, you have to actually educate the mother, because then and it requires a regular counseling, because 10 to 12 years old girls, definitely they are not, you cannot completely force them, so you need to make them understand. And same thing, you have to make them understand the importance of fiber. You have to make them understand the importance of protein in their diet when they are facing these kind of issues, right? And again, these girls must be having acne and all, so you can always make them slightly scared ki, okay, if you're taking a lot of oily food, it will increase your acne. So those kind of basic tips which a girl can understand, a young girl can understand, that way in simplified way actually you can tell them, and educate the mother first, educate the parents first, so that their eating habits change, then automatically it will be inculcated into the girl's life also.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the next most important segment, that is how the supplementation are helpful, and what line of supplementation we can actually choose for the PCOS women, okay, or girl also. So first is your all plant protein powder. So you have to see a holistic thing, that we are actually slightly trying to correct the symptoms, because the disease in overall we are not able to correct. So somewhere we are trying to correct the symptoms like obesity, we are trying to correct, we are trying to correct the insulin resistance, we are trying to correct the diabetes part, right? We are trying to correct the lifestyle, the anxiety, the mood disorders. So those things we are trying to correct, okay? And also the fertility part, which is a main problem in the reproductive age. So first is your protein. So protein, we all know that it improves your metabolism, which is very, very important factor, not only for your insulin sensitivity, to improvise on your insulin sensitivity, but also it is also important for your weight correction also, okay, because it improves your satiety value by suppressing the ghrelin hormone. Ghrelin hormone is the hunger hormone, okay. So basically it improves your metabolism, it improves your satiety, and it balances out your insulin levels also. And being soya based, there is a presence of isoflavones in all plant protein powder, which somewhere improves the infertility issues also. It improves the fertility, okay. And I just saw a question that some doctors say that try to avoid the soya. So those doctors say to avoid the soya products which are genetically modified, okay, which are genetically modified, which further may give more hormonal imbalances. But ours is not genetically modified, right? So that's why it's safe for the PCOS conditions also, okay? So boost your metabolism, improves your insulin sensitivity, and improves your fertility issues also. Secondly, your daily, okay? Second supplement will go to the daily. Daily is basically to be taken because of its antioxidant property. It is having like 13 vitamins and 11 minerals, and every mineral, every vitamin has to play some role in hormonal balance, in improve on your energy levels, in improvement of your inflammatory conditions that you're going in, okay. But mainly I like to talk about two minerals. First is your zinc. So zinc basically is very, very important because it boosts your fertility, right? So researchers have told that it helps in fertility issues. It reduces acne also. It has a positive effect of acne, and it helps in reducing the acne issues, and also it improves the insulin condition. That means it improves the insulin sensitivity, okay. Few research also told that presence of zinc also helps in eliminating the extra testosterone. Zinc also helps in eliminating extra testosterone, alright. And chromium, very, very important in balancing the insulin level. Sometimes because of chromium deficiency, you see the chances of diabetes also increases. So chromium also plays a very important role, okay. Third will be your omega. Now, as I told earlier also, like good fats are the base of your hormones. All your hormones are made up of fat. So, omega is very, very important because it improves the egg quality. It improves the egg quality and ovulation. So, definitely it has a direct impact on fertility. It also helps in regulation of menstruation. So, I have seen so many girls coming in who have started with omega that I have just taken 1 month of omega and my periods are coming regularly now. Right? Because again, it has a positive effect on your hormones. That's why it helps in regulation of your menstruation. It also supports healthy pregnancy. Okay. and it has a positive effect on your mood, your insulin resistance, and reduces the inflammation also because of its anti-inflammatory properties. Okay. Now the fourth most important.
One second, Sapna. So Asha ji is asking a question that is the quantity of zinc which is there in daily product, is it sufficient?
It's almost, I think, if you see the daily ka dabba, it will be written that how much RDA is present. I think it is almost like 100% of RDA. And if you require that extra zinc, you can start with calcium, magnesium also, because that is also having zinc. And calcium, magnesium is also important for PCOS, which I'll be discussing further. Okay, so both the combination if you are taking, it will definitely suffice the requirement of zinc.
Okay, so I think two people have asked this. What is the benefits of chromium? I think they missed listening.
So chromium is basically, it helps in balancing the insulin level. Sometimes it is seen that if you are having chromium deficiency, it may lead to diabetes also. So that's why there is a relation between presence of chromium and balancing of insulin level. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Fourth, very very important. It's come. The next two supplements will come from the herbal range and plays a very important role in PCOS, infertility related issues. So fourth is your Madhunashni, Shunthi, and Twak, and all the three herbs separately has positive effect on PCOS. So Madhunashni, we all know it has a positive effect on insulin. It also reduces sugar craving, which is one of the main complaints in PCOS women. They crave for sugar. It also reduces the absorption of sugar and fat, which is important for your obesity related issues, right? Because it is an associated problem with PCOS. Second is your Shunthi. Shunthi has anti-cancerous properties. Shunthi has anti-cancerous properties, especially for endometrial cancer, and it also relieves menstrual pain. So Shunthi is basically for that. And Twak, again, we all know that it is important for insulin. It helps in the insulin sensitivity, it improves your metabolism, and also helps in regulation of menstruation. It also helps in regulation of menstruation. Okay? And the last is Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha again, generally I give personally with Madhunashni, I give Ashwagandha also, because Ashwagandha again improves your insulin resistance, reduces stress, because stress is a major hormone which affects further your insulin and other hormones also. So basically it reduces your stress hormones, and it has a positive effect on your fertility also. So when you are giving to a male, it basically helps with the male fertility. When you are giving the same supplement to a female, then it helps with the female fertility also. Okay, so basically it helps with the improvement of your ovulation and the egg quality and all. Okay, so that way Ashwagandha helps. So these were the main 5 that definitely should be added. Among others comes calcium, CalMag-D plus, your cherry iron and fiber. So first I'll talk about CalMag-D plus. So if you see the combination of calcium, magnesium and vitamin D and zinc overall helps in insulin metabolism. But the most important thing in calcium, magnesium, in CalMag-D is the vitamin D. The presence of vitamin D is very important, because without vitamin D, ovaries can't produce fertile egg. So basically it helps in ovulation and egg maturation. It matures the egg and helps in ovulation. So vitamin D presence is very very important in ovulation and egg maturation. Okay, and that's why it has a promising role on irregular periods, because it has a important role in ovulation. It helps with the irregular periods also. Okay. Cherry iron basically has to be given in the girls who are having heavy bleeding. So correct to correct the hemoglobin levels, and since our cherry iron also comes with a folic acid, it also helps in fertility issues. Okay. And the last is fiber. As I told, it increases your satiety value, it helps in maintaining healthy blood sugar levels, and it also aids in weight loss. So this was all about the line of supplementation that we should be working on while seeing a client with PCOS. Okay, I think this is from my side.
Sapna, 1 second. So since a lot of people are asking this, I would like to add that definitely for your personal recommendations, this is not the right place. You for particular issues with the age or something, please get in touch with one of the consultants. They will be able to guide you properly. But I just wanted to know, Sapna, if you could just give like whatever supplements we have covered now. You can tell ki, for example, what time should they take and how
Okay.
much should they take. That's it.
Yeah, so basically protein when you're suggesting, as I told that you have to increase your protein intake to 30% of your total calorie intake. So protein you should be at least minimum be taking 2 scoops, and along with that you can add the dietary protein. So 2 scoops per day. Depending on how your day is going to be, so accordingly, preferably 1 scoop in the morning and 1 scoop in the evening time as a snacking option. Okay. Second is your daily definitely 1 tablet after breakfast. Salmon omega, if you want to give, definitely it should be given at least 2 per day. And if you're facing a challenge of weight loss also along with that, then you can increase it to 3 also. Okay. One more point I want to add. This is basically for PCOS, but PCOS comes with a obesity issue also. So this line of supplementation along with weight management program can also be suggested. Okay. So protein 2 scoops daily, 1 tablet after breakfast, omega 1 after breakfast, 1 after dinner. Madhunashni you can take 1 after lunch and 1 after dinner. Ashwagandha 1 after dinner. So that should be the line of supplementation. Calmac D plus if you're taking, at least 1 you should be adding. If the bleeding is very high, 1 cherry iron also can be added. And fiber you can give 1 scoop before lunch and 1 scoop after dinner. That way.
Okay. So I think I read this question somewhere. Yeah. So people who have thyroid and PCOS, can they take the protein that we have?
Yes, so I have answered this question earlier also, that our protein is devoid of goitrogens. The goitrogens which give problem to the thyroid gland, they are not present in our all plant protein powder. So our all plant protein powder can be suggested to thyroid patients with the PCOS, but only thing that you can slightly be more careful, that try to give a gap of 3 to 4 hours between having the medication and taking the protein. That way can be done.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sapna. I really would like to tell everybody, yes, we cannot answer all your questions. I really request all of you to either get in touch with me or with Joel for rest of your questions. We'll connect you with one of the consultants and you will be able to get your doubts clear. And yes, moving ahead, I just wanted to thank Sapna for the wonderful presentation. It's a whole new concept that she actually thought and she's put together for everybody so that we can try and maintain our PCOS symptoms. So just as a summary, I would like to tell all of you that PCOS is also one of the major reasons of infertility among women. So it is important that you see signs and symptoms. You make sure that whoever you know, your near ones, your dear ones, you request them or you encourage them to get the diagnosis done, because to be really honest, I've been reading a lot about PCOS and I have understood that all the females, all the women who are actually having or dealing with PCOS, it's like an everyday fight for them. The fight is because of their mood changes or because of the depression. It can have a lot of different effect on women especially. So as a way forward, I would like to tell all of you that yes, we have given you one step as a preparation, but more and more you can prepare about the resource or about the knowledge behind PCOS. Once you're ready with the knowledge, then you can communicate it. I'm sure all of us already have a vast network of people you are in touch with. So communicate this information to public and also to people or also to women who have already told you that they are having PCOS. Encourage them to get the diagnosis done and also definitely assist women. As Amway, we already believe in helping people live better lives, right? So definitely help them overcome this complete face of PCOS with their necessary lifestyle changes, the dietary changes, and with the addition of all the supplements that Sapna has just mentioned. And also definitely support them, talk about this. I also read somewhere that 60 to 70% women are not even aware of them having PCOS. So this is a goal. Please take it for yourself. Prepare, communicate, overcome, and support. So this is all from my side and from Sapna.